The top stories tonight in Y News. President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to meet with the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases tomorrow, while the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases allows more businesses to reopen in parts of the country under general community quarantine beginning August 1st.
The Department of Health officials stand firm they do not have any intentions to deceive the public in reporting the country's COVID-19 data.
Authorities remind motorcycle riders and their back riders to acquire their own protective shields already before August begins.
Preparations for hazards must continue despite the COVID-19 pandemic, according to Phivolcs.
The government of Thailand permits a long weekend to compensate for holidays lost.
Lowly flies get super names as scientists find inspiration in Marvel characters.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, July 29, 2020. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I am Harleen Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news, President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to meet with the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases tomorrow, July 30th. According to Malacanang, aside from the quarantine classification starting August, the public should wait for major changes in the government's COVID-19 response. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says things will not be the same again. The major changes that Filipinos must watch out for include intensified expanded targeted testing, tracing, treatment, and isolation.
Testing and tutorial centers, review centers, fitness, gyms, and internet cafes in general community quarantine areas may reopen, but with a limited capacity after July 31st. Our Malacanang correspondent Rosalie Cos explains why.
More business establishments will be allowed to open their doors to customers with 30% operation capacity in parts of the country under General Community Quarantine or GCQ beginning August 1. This based on the Interagency Task Force Resolution Number 59. Those industries include testing and tutorial centers, review centers, gyms, fitness centers and sports facilities, internet cafes, personal grooming establishments and aesthetic services, pet grooming and drive-in cinemas. The Department of Trade and Industry or DTI, however, clarifies gyms for contact sports are not yet allowed to operate. In modified general community quarantine areas, more business activities will also be allowed. The DTI, in coordination with the Department of Health, is crafting the mandatory health protocols for each business activity. The PANAS, however, is saddened by the realization of the forecast of the University of the Philippines experts on COVID-19 cases in the country for the month of July. Based on their forecast, coronavirus cases in the Philippines may reach 85,000 with 2,000 mortalities before July ends. But Roque insisted the country must aim not to reach the forecast of the UP experts. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines' debt breached the 9 trillion peso mark last month to finance the national government's COVID-19 response. According to the Bureau of Treasury, the Philippine debt reached 9.54 trillion pesos in June. That's 16.9% higher than the country's debt stock in June 2019. The Treasury also says 32% of the funds borrowed were from external sources sources, while 68% were from domestic investors. The Philippines has secured 130.5 billion pesos from the Asian Development Bank and 85.7 billion pesos from the World Bank for COVID-19 response programs.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health officials stand firm they do not have any intentions to deceive the public in reporting the country's COVID-19 data. Our health correspondent, Aiko Miguel, will give the details why.
A post on Vice President Leni Robredo's Facebook page says that the country's Department of Health has an attempt to mislead the public after the DOH presented the COVID-19 positivity rate in the Philippines last week. But Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres stands firm they are transparent in reporting COVID-19 data in the country.
Wala pong intensyon ang kagawaran ng kalusugan na linlangin ang mga tao sapagkat nilalabas naman po namin ang mga mahahalagang datos na maaring gamitin para sa analysis.
Based on Vice President Robredo's Facebook post, it is questionable that the positivity rate decreased to 8.8% on July 23 from 22.2% on April 30. Vice President Robredo also said it is worrisome that there have been more people tested for COVID-19, but data showed a lower positivity rate. The DOH defends the reported data should have been on April 3 and not April 30. Undersecretary Vergeres also said they have been presenting the positivity rate of cases to show the improvement of the country's testing capacity and that there are more licensed testing laboratories in the country.
Kaya po bumababa ang mga numerong ito ay dahil nga nagkakaroon na po tayo ng mas maraming laboratorio sa bansa na maaring makagawa na po ng test. Isang senyales po ito na tama po at nasa ayon po ang pagre-responde natin sa pandemya bilang isang nation. Wala pong pangloloko dito po sa mga datos na ibinibigay po natin sa ating mga kababayan.
The DOH also explains that more people tested for COVID-19 would not mean a higher positivity rate.
Ang positivity rate po ay percentage ng mga taong nag-test ng positive mula sa lahat ng nagpa-test para sa COVID-19. Ito po ay ginagamit upang malaman kung ang bansa ay may sapat na testing capacity sapagkat dito po nakabase kung nadedetect ng bansa ang mga kaso ng COVID-19.
The DOH emphasizes it has not been sugarcoating or concealing anything because data reported are all based on the global parameters from the World Health Organization. However, the DOH admits the country has a higher positivity rate compared with the standard positivity rate from the WHO. As a proof, the country has now reached or even surpassed 85,000 cases 2 days ahead the projection of University of the Philippines Octa Research that the country will have 85,000 cases by the end of July.
Kung makikita nyo po, mas mataas pa rin po tayo sa less than 5% na standard ng WHO. Kaya naman po ay importante na tayong lahat ay makisama at sumunod sa minimum health standards. Mamamalagi na lamang po sa bahay kung hindi namang kinakailangan lumabas.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the country's Department of Health says that 1,874 new cases were reported today based on results from total tests done by 83 out of 91 laboratories. That raises the total confirmed cases of coronavirus infection in the Philippines to 85,486. The National Capital Region, or NCR, reported the most additional cases with 728. Followed by Cebu with 325 new patients. There are 56,528 active cases remaining. Of those active cases, 90.1% are in mild condition. We have lost 16 more patients. But through our fervent prayers, medical interventions, and sacrifices of our medical frontliners, 388 more people have won their battle against the invisible enemy. That brings the total recoveries nationwide to 26,996. Thanks be to God.
Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has now reached a total of more than 16.7 million confirmed cases in 188 countries, regions, and sovereignty. That's after over 226,000 new cases were reported from various countries since yesterday. The global death toll from the fast-spreading disease has surpassed 660,000 after a total of over 4,000 new deaths around the world were reported in the past 24 hours, while more than 9.7 million patients across the globe have recovered from the new coronavirus infection. Thanks be to God. The MWSS, or Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System, issues a show cause order against water concessionaires Maynilad and Manila Water. Joanano tells us why.
As the Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System received over 400 customer complaints over alleged questionable surge in water billing, the agency has issued a show cause order demanding Maynilad and Manila Water to explain reported spike in water bills issued to customers after the enhanced community quarantine period. MWSS has given 5 days for the water concessionaires to respond to the show cause order.
So we are investigating a lot of these complaints, because we've also been receiving a lot of similar issues that there was an error in the meter reading. And we are also monitoring about a lot of complaints with regard to leaks, that alleged leaks that the consumers are being penalized with.
For their part, Maynilad and Manila Water vowed to cooperate with the MWSS on the investigation. According to Maynilad, they have received more than 4,000 complaints on alleged faulty meter reading, but reiterate that they are addressing the issue and that there are no irregularities to cause those complaints.
Sisikapin po namin na bago po mag-deadline doon po sa sulat, ay maibigay na po namin yung aming formal na sagot. Kasama na po yung nakalap po namin ng mga datos na magpapatunay po na ganito lang karami yung aming natanggap at ganito din po kadami yung aming mga nasagot at ano-ano po yung mga bulleted na hakbang na ginawa po ng aming opisina.
Manila Water, for its part, explains it is resolving more than 7,000 customer complaints over their ECQ water billing. Jeric Sevilla, the spokesperson of Manila Water, emphasizes that most of their resolved cases revealed that their meter reading are accurate and that there was increased water consumption during the ECQ period.
Pinupuntahan ito, bine-verify natin yung reading kung talagang tama, no? And majority naman talaga ng mga bills ay talagang tumaas, no, largely due to the summer season at saka to sa pandemic. And to a large extent, nung binasa natin yung mga bills ay majority din dito ay actual reading.
The MWSS has yet to announce whether a refund will be available for its customers or penalties would be imposed on Maynilad and Manila Water. The decision will be based on its investigation. Joanaro, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Philippine government reminds the public not to forget preparing for other hazards or disasters such as earthquakes amid the COVID-19 pandemic. To join us tonight, here's Ray Pelayo. He will tell us why live. Yes, Ray, good evening.
Good evening, Harleen. Do you remember participating in any earthquake drill?
Yes, Ray, I do remember performing the duck cover and hold on position, and we were able also to cover the nationwide simultaneous earthquake drill in our office there in Caloocan City.
Well, Harleen, earthquake drills in the country have been suspended since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the Philippines, and now such drills and exercises that prepare citizens for an earthquake may not resume until there is an available vaccine to protect people against a deadly disease that is affecting almost all nations in the world. That's according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC. However, the spreading virus is not a reason for the agency to stop preparing local government units for multiple hazards they may face anytime, considering the health protocols to prevent COVID-19 transmission. This includes wearing of face masks and personal protective equipment and maintaining physical distancing. If before, the NDRRMC needed to visit places to hold seminars and raise awareness among Filipinos, now it uses online platforms to conducting seminars. According to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or Phivolcs, the preparation for hazards must continue, like earthquakes, tropical cyclones, and floods, even during a pandemic. Department of Science and Technology Undersecretary and Phivolcs Officer in Charge, Renato Solidum, explains that they continue the information dissemination for disaster that local governments may encounter.
Ray, what about the big one? What is the government doing about this? Is the government still preparing for the big one? Although we all know that the coronavirus pandemic is happening right now, it is also a big or major crisis, so to speak.
Well, Harleen, since 2015, Phivolcs has been intensifying its awareness campaigns for the possible effect that the so-called the big one might bring to Metro Manila and nearby provinces. As you know, the big one is expected to be a magnitude 7.2 earthquake, which might cause a great destruction to lives and properties. Even in the middle of the pandemic, Phivolcs advises every household to tackle their safety for when an earthquake comes, just like a safe place to go where the family members will meet, important numbers to call, and so on. In addition, still to avoid contracting the virus, every family must also prepare an emergency bag, which must include face masks, rubbing alcohol, or hand sanitizer, and other items to maintain proper hygiene. Earlier, I interviewed Undersecretary Solidum. Here's what he has to say about disaster preparedness in the middle of the pandemic.
In the past many large-scale disasters, minsan merong mga natataon na pandemic, mahirap yun kung hindi handa sa pareho. So dapat talaga ay both ready, not only for COVID-19 but also the other possible large-scale hazards.
Also, just a reminder to the public, the Phivolcs online application may also help citizens in identifying hazards in their particular areas. So that can be accessed through GeoRisk Philippines. Again, that's GeoRisk Philippines. Arlene?
Thank you so much, Ray Pelayo, for that report.
Authorities remind motorcycle riders and their back riders to acquire their own protective shields already before August begins. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
The PNP Highway Patrol Group will arrest motorcycle riders who are not using a protective shield starting Saturday, August 1. HPG National Capital Region Chief Police Colonel Wilson Dromal says the grace period given to riders has been sufficient to be able to purchase a protective shield approved by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases.
Manguhuli na po kami at siguro ma'am yung 3 weeks na pagbibigay ng allowance po sa mga motorcycle riders ay enough na po yun.
Dromal adds they will consider only the 2 designs the IATF has approved, namely the design created by Bohol Governor Arthur Yap and Angkas Chief Transport Advocate George Royeca. Dromal clarifies they will confiscate the license of violators in exchange for a violation ticket.
Dahil ang motorcycle po ngayon ay dapat isa lang. So kung nag-angkas siya na wala siyang barrier, kakasuhan po natin siya yung excess passenger, confiscated po yung driver's license na.
Meanwhile, the PNP HPG again inspected the bus lane and bicycle lane on EDSA today. They flagged down private vehicles including 2 armored vehicles. PNP HPG also reminded the bus drivers of their speed limit while traversing EDSA to avoid accidents. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Bureau of Immigration main office in Intramuros, Manila will remain closed until tomorrow, July 30. Bureau of Immigration Commissioner Jaime Morentes said in a statement, this is to finish the rapid testing of 700 employees in the Bureau's main office. They have also requested to be given more time to complete the disinfection and sanitation of the building and its premises. The BI announced the temporary shutdown after 3 of its employees tested positive for COVID-19. Despite this, the public may transact in Bureau of Immigration satellite and extension offices in Metro Manila for online appointment schedule inquiries.
Several senators are urging the Commission on Audit or COA to conduct a special audit on the government's COVID-19 spending. Today, Senator Risa Hontiveros, along with Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon, Senators Kiko Pangilinan, Laila de Lima, Ralph Recto, Panfilo Lacson, and Sonny Angara filed a resolution calling on the Commission to look into all COVID-19 related spending made by the national government under the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act, including all loans and donations. According to Hontiveros, the people should know whether the billions of pesos of realigned funds were properly allocated. This is because of alleged overpricing in various procurements of the government. That includes the purchase of automated nucleic acid extractors worth 4 million pesos. However, the purchase made by the private sector was only at 1.75 million pesos. There was also the issue of overpriced personal protective equipment or PPE sets purchased by the Department of Health at 1,800 pesos each, which are more expensive than the market value that ranges from 400 to 1,000 pesos per set. Another is the importation of more expensive RT-PCR test kits from China and South Korea, despite the presence of cheaper Philippine-made test kits that were developed by the University of the Philippines National Institutes for Health. The senators also urged COA to present its findings before the Congress is set to deliberate on the 2021 national budget. However, Hontiveros said the audit is important to guide the legislators during the budget deliberations as they are anticipating massive allocations to address health, economic, and social impacts of COVID-19. COA has yet to comment on the matter. Yesterday, the Senate passed the second installation of the Bayanihan Law, or the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, which allocates a 140 billion peso standby fund for various sectors affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Senator Kiko Pangilinan voted no of the measure as he believes that Health Secretary Francisco Duque III should be fired first before billions of pesos will be released to the department.
Afraid, Mr. President, that unless Secretary Duque is fired or is forced to step down as chairperson of the IATF, the country will only see more incompetence and more corruption issues hounding the government's efforts in addressing the pandemic.
The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, now permits some 2,000 traditional jeepneys in Metro Manila back on the roads to serve passengers. The LTFRB reinstates 17 routes for traditional jeepneys as more and more businesses and sectors reopen and as employees return to work. Meanwhile, the agency has allowed the opening of the Tandangsora Quezon City Hall via Visayas Avenue route, where jeepney drivers needed to beg for alms to get by after their operation was suspended due to the COVID-19 crisis. Despite limited capacity, the jeepney drivers are thankful for allowing them to operate again. The LTFRB reminds that the drivers are required to download a QR code from the agency's website. The QR code must be printed out and then posted on the jeepney. This is to avoid apprehension. The LTFRB also reminds that traditional jeepneys must operate with only a 50% capacity. Violators may face penalties such as fines from 1,000 to 5,000 pesos or suspension or cancellation of franchise depending on the violation. For a complete list of new routes, visit the LTFRB's official Facebook page.
William, we are on board the UNTV radio mobile booth and we are here in Commonwealth Avenue in Batasan Hills, Quezon City. Let's take a look at the situation on the road. For motorists coming from Elliptical Road going to Fairview, expect a moderate traffic flow in this area of Commonwealth Avenue. Meanwhile, we have a light to at times moderate traffic on the other side of the road for vehicles coming from Fairview going to Elliptical Road to EDSA. Just a simple reminder to our drivers, we have a slippery road tonight due to light to moderate rains that we are experiencing right now, so take extra caution while on the road. And for our weather update. A low-pressure area and the southwest monsoon are affecting parts of the country. State Weather Bureau Pagasa says as of 3 p.m. today, the LPA was spotted 35 kilometers north-northwest of Daet Camarines Norte, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Western Visayas, and the provinces of Aurora and Camarines may experience cloudy skies with scattered to widespread rains and thunderstorms due to the LPA and southwest monsoon. Meanwhile, the two weather conditions may bring cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms over Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon, Visayas, and Zamboanga Peninsula, while the rest of Mindanao may experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms due to the southwest monsoon. Possible flash floods or landslides may occur due to severe thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone advisory is issued.
The Philippine National Police and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PDEA, support the proposed death penalty by lethal injection for drug convicts. Our police correspondent, Leia Ilagan, will explain why.
The Philippine National Police believes that crimes in the country will be curbed by implementing death penalty on illegal drug convicts. President Rodrigo Duterte made mention he is pushing for the reinstatement of death penalty by lethal injection in his State of the Nation address on July 27. PNP Chief Police General Archie Gamboa says such measure will greatly contribute in keeping a tight rein on illegal drug problems in the Philippines.
Yung 11 billion confiscation natin for the past 6 months is enough reason why we will encourage both houses of Congress to enact a law so that it would restore the death penalty on illegal drugs.
General Gamboa also believes that with the capital punishment, not only illegal drugs but also other criminal acts will tail away.
Philippine National Police believes that with this kind of imposition, there would be a deterrence on crime.
The PNP chief even says that foreigners are not afraid to carry out their illegal drugs trade in the Philippines because the country lacks stiff punishments for such unlawful act.
If we compare it with other countries na na-apprehend natin na mga foreigners nandito, ang unang tanong bakit nila ginagawa dito? Because they are in a way convenient in the absence of a death penalty.
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PDEA, also supports the proposed death penalty. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The national government is planning to switch to packet trips and sending locally stranded individuals to their home provinces. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
The Tidulong Project Technical Working Group no longer wants the incident last weekend to happen again, where physical distancing was not observed while processing the travel of locally stranded individuals, or LSI, at the Rizal Memorial Sports Complex. Hatid Tulong Project Lead Convener Assistant Secretary Joseph Cabo acknowledges their lapses and plans to implement a new system for the LSIs. Asik Cabo says they plan to implement packet trips where the government will schedule and bring the LSIs at the RMSC per region.
Sa isang linggo, isang riyon. Sa susunod na linggo, isang riyon naman. So, pangalawa, ang requirement ng LGU kung ilan lang ang pwedeng tatanggapin para ma-meet namin yung expectations at saka masunod namin ng maayos ang guidelines ng IATF.
Meanwhile, 27 LSI turned out positive on the rapid test. These individuals are now isolated and have undergone confirmatory swab test, or RT-PCR.
Ang magandang balita lang po dyan is it's less than 2% of the entire number of LSIs na napauwi natin compared sa nag-positive sa rapid test.
And Cabo says more than 5,000 LSIs were brought to their home provinces through the Hatid Tulong program of the government. This figure is significantly lower than their target 7,500. ASIC in Cabo explains that many LSI were not able to arrive at the RMSC due to community lockdowns implemented in their areas and other reasons. Despite this, more LSIs arrived at the RMSC today, also wanting to travel back to their provinces. According to ASIC in Cabo, walk-in LSIs are discouraged to go to RMSC now as the second send-off of the Hatid Tulong program has ended. And Cabo says they will talk with the walk-ins to just wait for the next schedule and return to their relatives. If they no longer have any homes to return to, then the government is also ready to accommodate them and bring them to the temporary shelter in San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. According to Incabo, due to bad weather, it may be possible that the schedule for the next send-off of locally stranded individuals will be in September. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening, and what have you got for us tonight?
Good evening, William. Despite signs and warnings of possible rainfall across Thailand, people in Bangkok took the opportunity to travel around the country during a 4-day vacation. In Hong Kong, the government says the metropolitan area is facing a new wave of COVID-19 infections. I will also tell you why the Australian government sent emergency medical teams to aged care homes in Melbourne.
Go ahead, Kath. Please tell us why.
The Songkran holiday here in Thailand is normally observed every April, but due to the coronavirus disease, it has affected the celebration of the event as well as tourism across the country. As a way to compensate the loss of holidays and for local businesses to thrive, the government has decided to have a 4-day weekend from July 25th to July 28th, which includes a national holiday to celebrate the 68th birthday of His Majesty, King Maha Vajiralongkorn. As a result, tens of thousands of people hit the roads and went to provincial bus terminals to return to Bangkok and other major cities at the end of the long weekend, which resulted in heavy traffic across the country. All passengers of public transportation must observe disease control measures such as having their body temperature checked, wearing a face mask, and using the Thai China app when checking in and out of the terminals. Hong Kong is facing a new wave of COVID-19 infections with an upsurge in locally infected cases, the government has said. According to its chief executive, Carrie Lam, the metropolitan area is on the verge of large-scale community outbreak, which may lead to a collapse of our hospital system and cost lives, especially of the elderly. Lam's administration has put in place stringent measures in enforcing social distancing. The chief executive appeals to the public for cooperation and to strictly follow social distancing measures and the stay-at-home order. Today, Hong Kong has 2,885 confirmed and probable COVID-19 cases as of today. Elsewhere in Australia, the government has sent defence and emergency medical teams to aged care homes in the city of Melbourne to help contain the country's worst outbreak of the coronavirus. The Australian government has sent 1,400 military personnel and 5 emergency teams, usually sent to disaster zones, to Melbourne, capital of Victoria State, to help deal with the aged care issues, including contact tracing. Also, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said he anticipated the Australian Medical Assistance Teams, or AUSMAT, would be arriving tomorrow. Victoria reported 255 new cases today and 9 deaths, including 7 in aged care. The state has a total of 9,304 cases. A spike in community transmission in Victoria and New South Wales has alarmed health officials and the government, who fear a second wave just as the country was reopening. Australia has 15,392 confirmed cases in total, with 9,427 recoveries. Heathrow Airport, once Europe's busiest, has called on Britain urgently to back a passenger testing regime to reduce the effects of quarantine on the travel industry. Airport Chief John Holland Kay warned that without testing, the country's strict quarantine rules will stop travel, stall the economy, and lead to more job losses. Holland Kay said the government should also change its rules to cut quarantine from 14 days to around 8 days for passengers who take 2 tests over the course of a week. The cost of having a coronavirus test at the airport would be about £150 or $195 per person, and the passenger would be expected to pay, Holland Kay said. Heathrow passenger numbers fell 96% in the second quarter of revenue, which was down 85%, pushing the airport to a £1.1 billion loss for the first 6 months of the year. Despite the loss, the airport said its finances remained robust. And those are the reasons behind the news here in Thailand and in other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Kath, and you stay safe there in Thailand.
The Russian Rugby Federation, or RRF, has confirmed the country is preparing an application to host the 2027 World Cup and that President Vladimir Putin is backing the bid. Russia has expressed an interest in hosting the tournament using the stadiums from soccer's 2018 World Cup as venues, the RRF said in a statement. The official bidding campaign is set to begin in February, with the sport's global governing body World Rugby expected to decide the host next May. France will host the next World Cup in 2023. While many people take to social media to share what they are doing at the moment, or sell goods, show their pet, dogs or cats, or to tell others what they ate for breakfast, a teenager in Mexico is using social media to teach an indigenous language. Mariela Toza has the story why.
Social media has been used to show off dancing, singing, cooking, posing, and pretty much any skills to the world. While other teenagers take to widely used video sharing platforms to dance or sing in front of the camera, this Mexican teen has decided to use the internet to teach the Mayan language for free. 18-year-old Santos Tuz from the Yucatan, a region that played an important role in the Mayan civilization and which is home to the lost city of Chichen Itza, is positive there are people out there who want to learn the language spoken by some 6 million people in Guatemala, Mexico, Belize, and Honduras in Central America.
More than anything, it is an invitation for people to get to know the language because it is really beautiful. I promise that you won't regret it because I love it, and everyone from abroad and those who know me, they love hearing it spoken.
Although experts put the fall of the advanced ancient civilization at 950 CE, Tuz is proving that the legacy of the Maya is still alive today in modern Mexico. With more than 34,000 followers on TikTok and some 9,000 on Facebook, Tuz takes his followers through Mayan basics ranging from numbers to animals and even local artifacts.
Don't forget, Lemayat ano Kushan, Mayan meaning the Mayan language is alive. And that is what we want to keep communicating through generations so that our roots are not lost.
Mariela Toza, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Don't be surprised if you meet new insects that could be flying around you, named after Marvel superheroes. Nina Armilio tells us why.
Deadpool, Thor, Loki, and Black Widow may be well-known superheroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but their influence is now spreading in the insect realm, thanks to Australian scientists who announced today that they have named dozens of new species of flies after the characters.
Naming a species is really important work. It gives the species a universal language that other scientists can use to be able to identify it and communicate.
The flies, including one named after Marvel creator Stan Lee, were part of 165 discoveries named by the scientists over the past year. The Deadpool fly was named for its resemblance to the character's red and black mask, while Stan Lee's fly was named for characteristic markings that look like the comic Titan sunglasses and white mustache.
I was inspired to name a fly after Deadpool because the species has a marking on its back that looks just like Deadpool's mask.
All 5 species are rubber flies, which are assassins of the insect world, according to the Cicero.
These are the first species I got to name, so I wanted to do something a little bit exciting with the naming.
The new discoveries include 2 fish, 3 subspecies of birds, and even a mite that lives on a lizard, the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization, or Cicero, said in a report.
You might even find a new species in your own backyard, as scientists estimate that we've only discovered 25% of all living species in the world.
Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Members Church of God International, or MCGI, launches its 24/7 multilingual community prayer broadcast on www.mcgicommunityprayer.org. That's www.mcgicommunityprayer.org. It has hourly schedules to encourage more people around the globe to pray to God in their own tongue. With the new multilingual community prayer accessible via the MCGI website, people across the globe can join the hourly prayer in their own language right at the comfort of their homes. Presently, the languages used are Filipino, English, Portuguese, and Spanish. More languages will be available soon. Those are the reasons behind the news, July 29, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold, and I am William Theo. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Have a great evening, everyone.